Of life, how cell helps to make a complete organism through various stages. We have seen the history of cell, who discovered first cell, who has seen first living cell. We have discussed cell theory also, what are the common features of different types of cells. We have seen about the microscope. There are two types of microscopes. First is the compound and second one is the electron microscope. To view just a cell, we need compound microscope, but to observe a particular structure of cell, what happening inside the cell, we have seen electron microscope. And electron microscope works on the principle of electron beam. We have to shoot electrons through this electron gun, and we have to use electromagnet in through vacuum tubes. Will study this microscope in another video. We have studied about the difference also. See this measurement of cells, different types of cells, shapes and sizes. So today we'll go further about the organisms. See, there are two types of organisms, non-cellular and cellular. What do you mean by non-cellular organisms? Non-cellular means those don't have a particular cell structure. Those don't have their own cellular mechanism, so they contain viruses. Okay, because we have to put virus on the border of living and non-living. Viruses need a particular host cell for the replication. On the other side, we have cellular organisms, and they are divided into two: prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. In prokaryotic cells, we have only unicellular organisms, for example, bacteria. In eukaryotes, we have both types of organisms, unicellular as well as we have multicellular organisms also. The best example of unicellular organisms are Paramecium, amoeba. They all are unicellular eukaryotes. They were the first cell on the earth, the first animal on earth. And multicellular, human, dog, cat, they all cells, and they all are multicellular organisms, and they have eukaryotic cells. So what is the main differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? We'll see in next slide. See, here's the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. The general size of prokaryotic cells is very small because they were the primitive cells. Primitive means very ancient cells. They are not developed cells, so the size is very small. They don't have nucleus, true nucleus, but they have genetic material, and the genetic material is in floating form. Floating form means nucleoid, we call it nucleoid. This is the nucleoid. Okay, but in eukaryotic cells they are quite large, and they have a true nucleus which is covered by a nuclear membrane. They have a single chromosome. Okay, means in whole prokaryotic cells they all have only one chromosome. On the other hand, eukaryotic cells have more than one chromosomes. For example, in human cell we have 46 chromosomes. Some other cells they have different chromosomes. Nucleolus is absent. Here nucleolus is present where RNA is formed. They don't have all cell organelles, and they have membrane bound cell organelles are absent. They don't have those cells like ER, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, they don't have. And they have all types of cell organelles like mitochondria, plastids, Golgi apparatus, etc. Their cell division takes place by fission or budding. This is a special type of cell division. No mitosis takes place. But here, mitosis also, and so there are two types of cell division, mitosis and meiosis. So So this cell division which takes place inside the eukaryotic cells, we can see through here. See, there are two types of mitosis, cell division, mitosis and meiosis. Okay, in mitosis, the chromosome number remain same. Just remember this point. If this initial cell contained 2n number of cells, suppose 46 cells, then the newly divided cells also have 46 chromosomes. No, no division in their chromosomes. But on the other hand, in meiosis, this is called the reductional division of the cell. So in reductional division, in initial stage, they have suppose 2n number of cells, then they reduces and form n number of cells. See here n. So this takes place in all our sex cells. Mitosis takes place in our somatic cells other than sex cells. The mitosis helps in different repairment of the cells, but in meiosis to formation of gonad cells. Gonad cells means sex cells, sperm and ovum. We need mitosis. Now this is example of a prokaryotic cell. In prokaryotic cell we have, see here, there is no other cell organelle is present here. See, we have mRNA genetic material, thylakoids, because they are photosynthetic, cell wall, plasma membrane, but don't have other cell organelles. Their genetic material are floating, no nucleus is present. But on the other hand, this is the eukaryotic cell. They have special type of covering, special type of cell organelles like Golgi apparatus, lysosomes. All types of cell organelles are present, well defined. They have nucleus also. Now, this is a very important question, that what is the difference between the nucleus and nucleoid? See, the nucleus is generally large in size, and in nucleoid, because it floats in the cytoplasm of a prokaryotic cell, so they are comparatively very small in size. They are covered by double membrane envelope, and here there is no membrane. Point to be noted. Nucleus is present here, no nucleolus, where RNA is formed. DNA content is equal to two or several DNA molecules, but here DNA content is equal to a single. This point is very important. Here DNA content is equal to single DNA molecule, but here DNA content equal to two or more than two DNA molecules. Okay, they have a type of special type of protein called histone protein, which help in the binding of DNA molecules. There is no histone proteins. There is no need to bind the DNA. Next, hey, this is the ultra structure of animal cell, and this is the ultra structure of plant cell. The basic difference is that the cell wall is present. Cell wall is present around the plasma membrane, but there is no cell wall in animal cell. Here is cell wall is present. A big and a big vacuole is present, which is formed in the center of the cell. Here so many vacuoles are present, they are not present in the center of the cells, so many differences are there. Now move to the structure of the cell. Very important, the structure of cell. So we'll study in part wise. There are three main regions of the cell. Plasma membrane, this is the plasma membrane which surrounds the cell. And after that, if it is a plant cell, cell wall is present. After that, this is nucleus and the cytoplasm. The space between the nucleus and the and the plasma membrane is the space is called cytoplasm. So there are three regions where we'll study the structure of the cell: plasma membrane, nucleus, and the cytoplasm. Now, starting from plasma membrane, this is very important about plasma membrane. See, the structure of plasma membrane is very complex. Different scientists have given their different ideas, different theories, but we'll study the most accepted theory. Now, sorry, living plasma membrane is living, very thin, elastic, delicate, and most important, selectively permeable membrane. Selectively permeable membrane means they allow only those substances which is beneficial or follows the rules of the mediated transport. They select the substances and then they allow. They select the substances and then they release that substance from out of the cell. Okay, so it is 70 angstrom thick. Chemical composition: the plasma membrane is made up of phospholipid. Actually, phospholipid is a bilayer. Bilayer means made up of two layers, which covers 75% of the all content. They contain protein, polysaccharides. Polysaccharide is a type of complex carbohydrate. Cholesterol is a fat. So they contain protein, polysaccharide, and cholesterol, which makes them 25% of total chemicals. Very important, they are made of phospholipids, phosphorus plus lipid. Actually, lipid is a fat only. There are two types of proteins: intrinsic protein and extrinsic protein. Those proteins which are entangled inside the plasma membrane are called intrinsic, and those who are outside of the cell, outside of the plasma membrane, they are called extrinsic protein. Okay, so this is the chemical composition of the plasma membrane. It's very important to remember. Now, structure of plasma membrane. Now, what do you mean by structure? Structure means how the structure helps a cell to get protected from outer environment. See, in 1972, two scientists came forward. Singer and Nicholson suggested a fluid and mosaic model. Listen carefully. Fluid means which easily flow, and mosaic means small beads like structure. This is a type of ultrastructure which contains fluid as well as mosaics. So it is made up of two molecule thick layers of phospholipid. You can call it bilayer. They contain proteins, both protein molecules, intrinsic and extrinsic, which are floating in the phospholipid. We'll show you in the diagram also. And this is the highly accepted theory of plasma membrane structure. Many other scientists also give, but this is the highly accepted theory. That's why they have accept this theory and we are studying this. The protein present in the plasma membrane acts various functions. Means they helps as an enzyme which takes place inside the cell and form different compounds also. They helps in transport protein means permeases, which helps to take substances and get inside. They helps in pumping also. Pumping means in active transport. They also helps the receptor protein. Receptor means to attach something which is outside of the cell and take it inside. So these are the functions of protein of the plasma membrane. So these are the structure. How to understand the structure? See here, this is the two layer of the, this is the first layer and this is the second layer of plasma membrane. See, two types of protein are present. See, those protein which is found in both layer, this is the first layer, this is second layer, this protein is called intrinsic protein, and those protein which is found only in the outside of the layer is called extrinsic protein. And others glycolipids are also present. These are very helpful in the receptor form, we'll study later on. So this is the structure of fluid mosaic model of plasma membrane. We have to draw it, we have to remember, because in exams it will come for 2 or 3 marks. Here, what is the function of selectively permeable membrane? What this feature, selectively permeability, how it is useful for the cell? 3 points. Useful molecules can enter the cell, only useful molecules can enter. They helps in the metabolic intermediates within the cells. Some important substances can go inside and come outside of the cell, and the secretion and wastage leave the cell. Whatever the substances are inside the cell, if they want to get outside, easily go through it. They are the main function. So what is the selective permeability of the cell? These are the 3 points. Next. Now, broadly, there are main 5 functions of plasma membrane, and these 5 functions are based on the transport system only. Okay, first is sorry diffusion, osmosis, mediated transport, endocytosis, exocytosis. So what is diffusion? We'll study one by one. These are the 5 main functions of plasma membrane: diffusion, osmosis, mediated transport, endocytosis, and exocytosis. The first function is diffusion. So what is diffusion? Very simple definition. It is the movement of particles means it may be solid, liquid, or gas, from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, so plasma allow all substances, if their concentration is high outside of the cell, they can easily allow them to come inside it, and it contains solid also, liquid or gases. Now, with the example of amoeba, how amoeba respires, how oxygen goes inside the cell, which is inside the amoeba, and how it respires. See, when the concentration of oxygen is higher outside of the cell of the amoeba, and the concentration of oxygen is less inside the amoeba, then easily oxygen comes inside by the process of diffusion. And when this oxygen converts into CO2 by the process of cellular respiration, the concentration of CO2 increases inside the cell. And when the concentration of CO2 outside of a cell is low, this CO2 comes outside by the process of diffusion. Easily. So this is very important. Whenever the question comes, what do you mean by diffusion? Explain with example. You have to give this example of amoeba. Here, see one more example. See, this is a diffusion which takes place inside a tumbler. See here, the concentration of substances is higher here, one side. Other side, there is no that particle is present. It means what? Here, the concentration of that substance is higher, and here is very low. So, gradually, from higher to lower, the substances moves to the lower side easily, and the whole substance easily mixes in that water or that uh, liquid. Okay, so these are 2 examples of diffusion. And diffusion takes place inside our body also, when we take oxygen and it releases carbon dioxide. Next, osmosis. It's very important. What is osmosis? When movement of water molecules, very important, movement of water molecules from higher concentration gradient to lower concentration gradient through semi permeable membrane. See, what are the changes from diffusion we get here? Water molecules from higher concentration gradient to lower concentration gradient through a semi permeable membrane, and it allows only water molecules. Point to remember. So there are 2 types of osmosis: endoosmosis, when the water content comes from outside to inside. Suppose this is a cell, when any substance water molecules comes from outside to inside, this is called endoosmosis. And when some water molecules goes outside of the cell, this is called exoosmosis. So these are the 2 types of osmosis which takes place in all types of living cells. Okay, now some of the examples. This is a very classical example. See, we have RBC. Okay, so RBC, red blood corpuscles. So we want to see that what are the changes if you put RBC in different types of solution. See, blood plus Ringer solution. Ringer solution is a type of solution which is specially made for the blood, in which the water content of the blood and the Ringer solution is same. blood plus water. Here the water present in the blood is less, and outside of the blood cells the content of water is higher. Here blood plus concentrated salt solution. Concentrated means less amount of water. Here concentrated means what? Outside of the blood the water content is very less. Okay, now what happened according to the osmosis? Here if the concentration of the water outside of the cell and inside the cell is same, then there will be no osmosis takes place. Okay, when the concentration of water outside of the cell is higher and inside is lower, then what will happen? All the water from outside they goes inside the cell and they may burst or swell. And here just opposite, outside of the cell the water content is less, so what will happen? The water present inside the RBC they comes outside easily, exhaustion takes place and they gets shrink because all type of water comes out. So this is example in which we can see the different types of solution is used to show endoosmosis and exoosmosis. Okay, see the type of solution in which the cell gets swelled, that type of solution is called hypotonic. A type of solution in which the both side the water content is same is called isotonic. And hypotonic means what? When the inside the cell the water content is high and outside the cell water content is low, then all water comes outside. This is called hypotonic solution. Okay, the best example is resins. We generally use resins in kheer and all, and resin is a formation of the is example of hypotonic solution. Okay, so whenever the question comes about the what do you mean by osmosis, how do you explain, then you will explain through this example. Okay, now some more example. I have given you the example of resins. See here resins are there. Endosmosis takes place. Endosmosis takes place means the amount of water outside the resin is higher, that's why this swells. Here exoosmosis takes place because the amount of water inside the uh, out outside of the cell inside the resin is higher, that's why this shrinks. There is no change here. This is the isotonic solution. This example of egg, example of root hairs, how they take water through the osmosis process. Okay, so this is how we can see here three examples. This example of resins, this example of root hairs through osmosis, this is example of the egg. Okay, so there are three examples we can see. Now we have seen two examples, two functions, osmosis and diffusion. Now what will happen when the concentration gradient is different? Suppose an important substance which is outside of the cell is there, but the concentration of that ion or substance is very less, then how they gets enter? So they gets enter by the process of mediated transport. So what is mediated transport? There are two types of mediated transport when the concentration gradient is different. First is the facilitated transport, second is active transport. In facilitated transport, they need some special type of protein called permease protein. With the help of that protein, anything which is outside of the cell, with the help of this protein, they come inside. But what will happen when if they don't have that particular type of protein? Then they use active transport. So what is that active transport? In active transport, they use their ATP molecule. They use their ATP molecule. What is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. This is the chemical form of energy which is made by our mitochondria. So in this active transport, they have to use their pump and they use their ATP, because they have to transfer molecules in opposite direction to a concentration gradient. In osmosis, in diffusion, we have seen the molecules are coming from higher concentration to lower concentration. That's why they don't need ATP. But here, if the concentration is different or opposite, and they have to get that substance, so in that case, they need a special type of transport. So they have active transport, they have pumps, calcium and potassium ion pumps, and they have to use their ATP. In this way, they can get that substance. Another mode also, endocytosis. Endocytosis is also a type of ingestion. Ingestion means ingesting something getting inside through the plasma membrane. So there are three types of endocytosis: phagocytosis, podocytosis, and receptor mediated endocytosis. Phagocytosis means cell eating, cell drinking, and receptor mediated endocytosis. Suppose all types of WBC uses phagocytosis process. See here, a bacteria which is outside of the cell, suppose in our WBC, and our WBC have to combat with that bacteria. So they just engulf them by the process of phagocytosis, and with the help of lysosomes, they releases a very strong enzymes called hydrolytic enzymes, and they easily kills that bacteria. So this type is called phagocytosis. Some important molecules of ions are outside of the cell. So how to get inside? Then they use their caveolae. They attach with that molecules and helps them to make a well, and they come inside. Some important substances acts as a ligands. Ligands are, you can call them small ions only, and they have a particular receptors called as clathrins. That clathrins attaches with that ligands and helps them to come inside. So this is also a type of transport which is used occasionally, not every time. Every time they are using diffusion and osmosis, but this is a very special case. For example, the ability of engulfing any pathogen which is outside of a cell is done by WBC only. Okay, this is called endocytosis. And the last function is exocytosis. So what is exocytosis? Exocytosis, which is used to remove unwanted substances and sometimes useful substances also. For example, it helps to remove residue. Residue means what? Waste, which is brought by endocytosis. Okay, see here, exocytosis vesicles is formed. They uh, they helps to transport to the plasma membrane, and there they secrete easily. This process is also called cell vomiting. This is called cell vomiting also. They secrete substances, hormones, enzymes also from here. They transport substance complete through cellular barrier also. So these are the three functions of exocytosis. Okay, so in this session we have studied about various functions of plasma membrane. We have seen the very important part of plasma membrane: diffusion, osmosis, immediate transport, and cytosis. So for next day's homework, you have to go through thoroughly in your NCRT. In NCRT, you may not get it in detail, but in your some other references book like Ashan, you'll get in detail. So you have to study it properly, and after that, we'll move to cell wall in next class. Till then, goodbye.